All right. So anyway, we're starting with Elizabeth. Notepad++ is banned.
Yes.
What?
Well, so text editor wars have now crossed over into real life. So
Yeah.
apparently,
Emacs.
right? Well, apparently text editors can be political. So
When haven't they?
They named their update the Stand with Hong Kong update. You know, they kind of asked for it.
You know,
Yeah.
Kaitlyn just made a great point, is when haven't text editors been political? I mean, it did get to the point where I had to steal one of 2600's code of conduct clauses and say that, you know, my students in one class are going to need to respect each other regardless of race, creed, color, and text editor choice. So,
Yep.
but that is not universal. So they were not happy with the fact that the developer is pro-human rights for the Uyghur Muslims in China and pro-Hong Kong democracy. And so that was a problem for China. But this also kind of ties in. It made me, one thing I've been thinking about a lot, and you know, maybe someone else will have some ideas. How did we go, speaking of embargoes on tech, how did we go from banning the use of TikTok to companies with some of the most glaring security problems like Microsoft and Oracle now battling to buy it? How did that happen?
Well, I'm amazed at Trump doing this. I mean, there was once a long time, like 5 years ago, and Republicans believed in something like free markets. Now he's ordering a Chinese company to sell to an American company within 90 days. I don't even think he has the authority to order that. That's like crazy. America used to say that we're better than France because France does stuff like that and China does stuff like that. We used to say we don't meddle with private business by having the government come in. And then he said you have to give some of the money to the government as like a bribe. It's like a whole new level of mind-boggling corruption, like so many things Trump does.
Yeah, the giving money to the Treasury made me go, what?
And I like this one. I mean, Microsoft buying TikTok. Microsoft has no ability. And then Oracle.
Yeah, now
Who
they're
could
like,
be like the worst company to run TikTok? They
Can just rewrite it in Java.
Can you imagine a monstrosity Oracle TikTok? Have fun, kids. Yeah, we're gonna have fun with Oracle software. Sure we are.
I'm so confused on so many levels. Like, it's just like, you know, the authors of the plot for the simulation just don't even care about suspension of disbelief anymore.
I know. You know, the universe with Trump getting in is like when they fired the original writers and the idiot stepped up that you tried to reject in the appeal process. You know, like when the whole universe has jumped the shark. You know. So I hope we can get rid of this guy. Did you see the Mexican president trolling Trump? That was awesome.
Yes. Oh, that was great.
Got a better president. It was very good.
Yes.
He's a very funny guy. Anyway, so
go get your free Uyghur edition of Notepad++.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's freeware, so he can do whatever he wants. That's kind of the thing. Anyway, so then we got no more IE.
IE is going to die 1 year from yesterday.
All right.
It will finally be killed once and for all. That and Legacy Edge. So they're really pushing towards being Chromium based. So Firefox is like the last non-Chromium thing that stands, a browser.
Well, Firefox is swirling around the drain. I mean, Google would do their support, which is like 95% of their money. So they're toast, I think.
And Mozilla just laid off like 80 people, something like that.
They might as well just shut the whole place. I mean, they tried to sell phones a few years back. They tried to sell T-shirts and hats. They got no way to make money.
It's going to be a problem, though. I mean, I have stuff. There is content that I can only consume in Firefox because everything else is broken and everything else.
Really? Like what?
I mean, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I mean, I'm sure that I will.
Oh.
But there's certain content that I can't view either in Chrome or Brave.
Well, you could use Iceweasel. I mean, there will of course be a real open source free spin-off fork.
I could, but I'm not sure how, I think that Iceweasel is kind of pegged to the survival of Firefox, because once they stop working on that, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with Iceweasel, but I'm concerned about the future of that as well.
Well, this is an opportunity for somebody to like buy public recognition. Somebody like Oracle could swoop in and fund them and be a hero. Apparently Oracle's got money to just throw away on stupid ideas. So this would be a lot less stupid than buying TikTok.
It sure would be awesome to have a viable browser option that doesn't just chew threads. Like it's going out of style.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's glory joy of IE. Then we got Tor Relays. This one is pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, so this makes total sense, and I don't know why this is just coming out now. But of course, when you are on the Tor network, you're going through a bunch of people's computers, and the last one on the network connects you to the site you're trying to go to. So why aren't there more exit nodes from the Tor network that are just reading all your data and stealing your Bitcoins? And that's exactly what's happening. They are.
Oh, but more than that, I mean, that's been going on forever, but they're also not encrypting it and forwarding fake encryption, which is a new level of hell, I think.
Yeah. So they will, do HTTPS downgrade attacks and everything. I mean, Tor is not safe. I mean, if you're looking to protect your privacy.
No, of course, we all knew that the U.S. military could get into Tor because they're running most of the servers. But this means there is somebody else out there running like 22% of the Tor network who can get into stuff, and they don't know who it is, which is pretty awesome. So, because it's a volunteer service, so you could just volunteer if you were like the Russian military, contribute a lot of stuff. Now you own enough to de-anonymize things.
Yeah.
Of course, you could buy a commercial VPN service and then they'd hand all your data over or just put it on an Amazon bucket or something. I think I have students that are like super paranoid that say, I have to hide all my data. What VPN should I use? And I'm always, I don't know. You can get them, but they're all pretty leaky. They're all.
Yeah.
You could put up.
I know it's funny because a lot of the things that a lot of the paranoid people do to protect themselves make themselves more vulnerable.
Yeah.
The most common thing I see is students who are super paranoid, so they put all this security stuff on and now nothing works and they can't do anything. That's the most common situation where you paralyze your machine with security.
Definitely.
Well, and I think it's got to do with this fact that every time something goes wrong, they say they think they've been hacked. So you get more and more and more paranoid. It's like med students that become hypochondriacs because every little ache, oh my God, that must be cancer. That must be, they know too much.
I've seen a lot of the other side of it too, where they just don't care anymore. And they're like, screw it, I'm gonna eat Taco Bell and smoke cigarettes. And the same equivalent in the security world, where it's just like, I've got too much else going on. I'm not even gonna bother to lock everything down because I'm too busy doing research or working or whatever.
Yeah, that was my old ex-housemate who would just watch all this porn, subscribe to everything until he filled up a Gmail account with spam, and then he would just buy a new computer. And his machine was totally full of pop-ups, and he put like 10,000 files on his desktop until it didn't run anymore, and then he'd just buy a new computer. And I said, well, that's one way to go, I guess. Anyway, all right, so then, so a bunch of colleges opened. Exactly what Scott Galloway said would happen, happened. Colleges opened and said, okay, send in your money. All the students come into the dorms, and gee, within the first week, huge outbreaks. The parents are sick, the kids are sick, it's spreading through the dorms. I guess we have to close again. So they closed North Carolina. And, had other like 5 or 6 other colleges also promised to open, and then they tried to open and they said, oh my God, this isn't going to work, and just closed again. So it's just the Keystone Cops over here at every level.
Who could have possibly predicted such a thing?
Nobody.
Everybody. I know. But Scott Galloway had it. It's so they could get the tuition money. They made the parents pay full tuition, and then they're, I'm sorry, we really tried. And of course, if they didn't do that, they would just go broke. Because somehow in America, we only have 100 times more money than everyone else. And that means we have zero savings for any contingency. Everybody is one paycheck from the end of the world over here. It's
You
hard
could,
to understand.
you could do what my school did and offer a double the tuition and then offer a 50% scholarship.
Well, there you go. That's nice of them. Well, it's become abundantly clear that college administrators are people who couldn't get a real job, So anyway,
Punish the next generation.
yep.
And it seems even worse at state and local schools, public schools, than it does at private schools, as far as that goes.
You would hope so. The private schools hopefully have to run sort of like a business. I don't know. Anyway, so a CIA officer spying for China.
Yeah. So this was pretty
That
interesting.
doesn't sound right.
Well,
What?
sound right. And also one of the funniest things about this article to me was that the way they got him was by having an operative meet with him to like take a survey about how he'd been treated and how well he'd been paid, which all that was they were just giving him enough rope to hang himself. So he just confessed. They gave him like a red envelope with a few grand in it, as a thank you for your service to China, and then asked him to give a synopsis of his whole spying operation, and he totally did. So, I mean,
Yeah. Well, so this is not like the spy novels where you have these intricate plots.
No, it was some pretty basic level social engineering.
Well, this is why I've heard people like, Sherlock Holmes, he says, it's not even worth getting out of bed for criminals like this. I mean, I need a worthy adversary.
Yeah.
What do you think? Finding something
It sounds like he had a pretty, it sounded like he had a pretty long career. So it's kind of messed up that.
This sort of reminds me of criminals used to say cops are dumb, and the cops say, the average druggie wears shirts about drugs, talks about drugs, sells them on the street corner. You go to his house and it's all full of drugs. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to catch this guy,
Right.
Anyway.
But you'd think that a CIA operative would be a little more tricky to snare.
You would hope so, but I remember this is like when the CIA went to, I think, Pakistan, and they hid among the Red Cross volunteers immunizing people, and then these rumors spread that don't let the immunizers in, they're American spies, they're poisoning you, and then they were American spies, and then they said, in retrospect, we probably shouldn't have put our spies in with the Red Cross operatives. We didn't anticipate the blowback.
This guy also worked for the FBI, so it makes me wonder if there might be some holes in our clearance system.
Well, there's Kushner. Yeah, there's definitely holes in our clearance system now. And the OPM got hacked, and China just stole everything. So they know all the secrets about all of our operatives. So anyway, so Google Chrome is going to protect you again. Oh yeah, from mixed HTTPS. Well, this is a pretty good idea.
Yeah. So I think this is one of those back and forth things or is it the other one? There's something fishy going on with Chrome of it'll either hide the text up top of what the link is or something or other, and they keep having a back and forth argument with everybody else who's like, no, show me the full link.
Yeah.
But this, I think, will be one of those items that will be useful because it'll tell you, hey, this isn't secure. So be careful what you're typing.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time warning colleges about their plain text logins, and now apps are doing it. It's nice when they tell you, this app is using plain text stuff, don't use it. That would be nice.
Yeah.
They should put this on mobile devices is where you really need it.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll go that way too.
That would be good. Anyway, and then we got NCC. Yeah, boy, I've been hearing a lot of screaming about this one.
Oh, no. Yeah. So NCC has obviously to train their employees and get them all certified up. And it turns out that they have been keeping a lot of the answers for some of the tests.
Yeah.
on their servers and passing them out to employees to help them study. And some of it got leaked out on GitHub. And it's, you know, a lot of people are very upset about this because a lot of these tests are very serious. But I'm looking at some of these answers for this test, and it's like, it's talking about like our host file and like Berkeley operating systems and stuff. I'm just like, no one would know this anyway. It's so out of date.
Well, that's what I thought. Yeah, look at this. This is like a block size of DES. Like, what the hell? Who cares?
Yeah.
Is this from a current? If this
Yeah,
was,
apparently this is current. And so, I mean, everyone's talking about how bad NCC is, but can we talk for a second about how bad these tests are? They're telling you like in which file the user's home directory controls the relationship for Berkeley R services. Like,
yeah, I know.
Well, you know, maybe Crest shouldn't have been complaining so loudly about having to redo all their material, because it seems like it might have been a little overdue.
Yeah.
You know, this is what happened to the OSCP. About a year ago, somebody dumped all the answers and said this will shame them into updating their junk, because apparently all their stuff was like 10 years out of date. And I guess it did. You just took it, right? It's up to date now, right?
Yeah, it's fairly up to date.
Yeah, that's because somebody dumped the answers. And they screamed and yelled and said they were going to sue. And everybody said, why is your stuff so old anyway? They said, all right, we'll update our stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. This reminds me of when our college got certified by the NSA as a Center of Excellence. And at the time when I looked into it, about 5 years ago, you had to meet 2,000 things that were like this. They had been written in like 1993 and never updated. So you had to teach these 2,000 security concepts from 1993, and it was like looking in the original Aramaic for the Bible to like try to figure out how that translates into the modern world. It was mind-boggling. Anyway,
that process is pretty much the same.
Oh dear.
They've made some updates to it, but it's not that updated. It's still the same. Not requirements. They have a term for it. But yeah, a lot of the stuff is very much the same.
I often had to Google to find out like what that ancient term meant and try to figure out what the modern term for that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway. And then this one I thought was awesome. Because this is very close to what I did for my thesis. I did the first discovery of molecular tunneling back in the day, and these guys are trying to make qubits. Qubits are analog bits. And the only way you make quantum computation fun, you have to entangle two qubits, and they have to stay entangled for long enough, and they have to be precisely entangled. And modern qubits are way too noisy. Not only do they decay and lose their coherency, they also lose the connection to the one they're supposed to be entangled to. And what these guys found out is, if instead of trying to maintain a steady quantum state, you oscillate 10,000 times per second, it's much, much more stable, because that causes the noise to cancel out. And this is sort of like if you stand a pencil on the end or you spin a top, it stays up a lot longer. So this turns out to be a lot better, and this may make it much easier to make room temperature quantum computers, faster quantum computers, cheaper quantum computers. So it's a very simple improvement, but it makes a huge difference just to cause the noise to cancel out. So, right now, quantum computers don't do anything important, but, this is another big step forward. And this is what everyone was expecting when they said in 10 or 20 years, these things will really work. And it's moving as expected. They're having a breakthrough every year, moving it forward, just like the early days of vacuum tubes and transistors. There are a ton of problems, but they are solving those problems and marching ahead. So probably in 10 or 20 years, we'll all have a quantum computer and it will do awesome stuff. Anyway. So then we got Hardcoded. Oh, I downloaded this thing, the coronavirus app. And I took a quick look at it, and then I lost interest. But I guess they put the AWS key in there. I didn't look for that.
They put the AWS keys in there, and they have the students.
They have college versions. I was doing like the state version from Illinois.
Yeah, they have a college version. Of course, they're using the same app at a bunch of different colleges, and this is nuts because. This is nuts because they have the students' health insurance information and
Oh,
test
great.
results inside the Amazon buckets. And of course, the student that found it tried to report it, was ignored, and then tried to report it to the company, was ignored, tried to report it to the school, and the school didn't respond to her, but they did put out a message telling everyone that it's perfectly safe.
Well, there you go. And then did not respond. Well, this sounds like my experience with full disclosure, except for the part where they like sue you and kick you out of the college or something. But
Yeah, that's probably next. She's trying to stay anonymous because of that. She's concerned, but pretty. Who could have seen this coming?
yeah. Well, that's the world of. I know. I teach the mobile app hacking class. Everybody is always so horrified to find out how terrible they are. You're just blithely putting your bank account information, and when you realize what's going on behind the scenes, you really don't want to do that anymore. Anyway, and the other thing is these things are totally stupid. They're never going to do any good unless you could get like 95% of people to actually use them. The whole idea that it's going to pick up your contacts and tell you if you've been infected with the virus is complete garbage.
Well, they that was part of their go back to school on campus plan. Their brilliant plan was to force everyone to use it so that you didn't have an option, and to get the students to agree that they wouldn't have off-campus jobs or leave campus for the entire semester, essentially.
Yeah.
A lot of colleges are doing that, and it's like the people that made these rules clearly don't remember being 19.
Well, I remember in March, I was amazed because it's very simple. I mean, they've known this for decades. First, you have to lock everyone down until you get to a small number of cases, and then you track and trace the contacts of the small number of cases. But we didn't do step one. And we never had any track and trace program. The whole point of the lockdown was to give us time to set up contact tracing, and nobody did it, not even California. They all just lied and didn't do it, and then pretended to be surprised when the virus spreads out of control.
And we see how good the implementations are of anyone that actually tried to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the track and trace, I understand, has been around for many decades and it works just fine. You don't use an app. You call people on the phone and you interview them. They've been doing it for like AIDS and gonorrhea and stuff for a long time. We have actually a track and trace program, but we're not using it for some strange reason. And you can't use it when like 10% of people are infected. You have to get that down to like 1% or 0.1% before you can possibly do track and trace. Anyway, so Google is going to have to pull out of Australia, they say.
Yes, there's a law going through Australia to make giants like Google have to pay.
You know, France did this about 2 years ago, and Google said they were going to pull out, and I don't think they really did.
Yeah, I don't think they did either.
I don't know if they paid, though.
Yeah, but Google is fighting tooth and nail, of course, and they sent out a letter to basically scare Google users that, oh my gosh, you're going to have to pay for stuff that is right now free, and of course it's like, no, that's not the point. But
yeah, well, I mean, I hear an awful lot of this in the podcasts I listen to. They're arguing about the American plan is to make the internet free and instead pay with your privacy invasion. And basically that's how we got Donald Trump, and we all died from the virus. So that's how we're paying for it. It might have been better to just pay $5 a month,
right,
than to pay with this indirect disaster.
Right. That's the madness that's happening in Australia right now.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Australia's on the right track, really.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I think they asked, I heard Bernie Sanders or somebody talking about how you're going to pay for like Medicare for all. And they said, well, we're going to have to actually tax Amazon and Google and stuff.
Yeah.
The way there used to be this thing called the graduated income tax, where the rich had to actually pay taxes and then you could provide services for the poor. We seem to have forgotten that somehow, but
it blows my mind that still in California, the way the tax brackets are set up, how a person who's making under $100,000 pays the same tax as somebody that's making over $300,000.
But if you make more than 10 million, you pay nothing because you hire a good lawyer.
Right.
We really could stand to do something about that, but I don't see that on the horizon. However, if Biden wins and they don't immediately put in Trump version 2, then maybe we can put in somebody like Bernie or AOC or something and move in that direction. Elizabeth Warren, maybe. Anyway, so eavesdropping LTE calls.
Yep.
What's LTE?
Oh, good question. Something evolution, long-term evolution. It's for cell phones. Yeah, it's for cell phone calls. The idea is that you can listen to people's encrypted phone calls. And the way this works, and Sam, this has what you want. It has a logo and a website. So you know this is a good exploit.
That's not a very good logo. All right.
It's not bad. But it's a logo. It's a logo.
Wow.
Yeah, so now you're going to quibble
You
with the
can tell this is
design,
not a real
right?
vulnerability, or they would have a better logo than that.
So the idea is that you can, if you call someone, you're going to do a key exchange, and you can use that key exchange to attack another person because apparently the phones aren't rotating the keys.
Oh, they're supposed to.
Yes. So with 3 people, you can essentially
Predictable.
eavesdrop on someone else's phone calls.
So this sounds like an implementation error. It's not in the protocol itself, is it?
I'm not sure if it's necessarily in the protocol or in the implementation.
They say the key stream cipher is supposed to have a unique key stream for each call.
Yeah,
but
I'm not. I mean, it should, but
it's being reused, so it's. Yeah,
but it's being it's being reused if like if you have like two people on the same line, so and it's like.
Is it just
so
in the software on the phone then? Is that what the origin of this is?
I don't know if it's the software on the phone. I don't know if it's being implemented correctly, but there's a flaw in the design of the system, or.
But you can implement with an SDR.
A base station. Oh, the base station is vulnerable. Okay. What did you say there, Irvin?
I was reading a line earlier. You can do this with an SDR.
Yep.
Yeah, well, of course, the SDR was the older system, and we knew that was vulnerable. Sometimes it wasn't encrypted at all, but they're reusing streams, which is pretty awful. That's interesting. Yeah. I know this reminds me of the Bluetooth low energy attack, where it negotiated the key, and you could negotiate it down to a size of 8 bits. And it would accept that. That was in the standard. So
kind of like the crack for WPA2.
Yeah. Anyway, good. I'm glad to see them finding holes in cryptography. Yep. All right. And this one I thought was wonderful. So these guys went to the Ritz, and they stole credit card numbers from the Ritz with a data breach. They got the booking details. So you make a reservation at the Ritz, and they would call you up and say, there's a problem with your reservation. Your card was declined, so you have to use a different card. And then they would start to buy something, and they would ask them for a code to go along with the card. So they would call you and tell you there was a data breach. And before I tell you the information, you have to verify your identity by giving me the code, which they would then give them to get the purchase. So that's pretty awesome. So they overcame the 2-factor authentication this way. And that's pretty clever. And this reminds me of the stuff that Rachel, I forget who she is, the social engineer expert. She does these talks where she's calling people, and she's really good at convincing them to like give you their airplane miles. And
I thought it was messed up how they got her to got one of their victims to hand over their bank details after they used the credit card.
Yeah. That's right. Those are very good. They overcame the 2-factor authentication. There was an attack like this about 10 years ago where you could call up like Yahoo help desk, and they would tell you everything if you knew your address. And you could call Amazon, and they'd tell you everything with the last 4 of your social security number. You could call somebody else, and they would give you the last 4 of the social security number. So by combining them, you could piece together enough information to get in people's accounts. Anyway, so it's a cute one. All right. Are there any more?
I thought one of the good points in that article was that one of their intended victims, foiled the scam by asking them questions about the hotel itself that the scammers couldn't answer. So that's a good defense for this sort of thing.
Yeah, I saw that when I saw the live calls at the social engineering contest at DEF CON years ago. They called this woman at a help desk, and they said, at a company, he said, I'm your outsourced help desk, and they've asked me to set up the computer, so I need your password. And the woman said, really? You are the outsourced help desk, the company? He said, I'm the help desk. There is no outsourced help desk. Who are you? They're like, gotta go, hang up. But that was when they did it the first couple of years. They found that if you got a woman on the phone, you were hosed, because women would be suspicious and ask these questions. Men would pretty much just go along and do any stupid thing you told them to.
The best was when I was over at visiting some friends, and one of my friends got a scammer call that she just like put on speakerphone when I was there, and they said, "Oh yes, your computer has a virus," and she's like, "I have 12 computers. Which one? Is it a Mac or is it one of the Windows machines?" And they were just like, and it ended up with the guy got so mad he was just like yelling at her at the end, like you're stupid and you wasted my time.
Yep.
Yeah, so it turns out for a lot of these scams, what they're looking for is for the person to sound really dumb. That's why a lot of the phishing emails are written so poorly and so bad, because they only want the people who are really not that bright responding to them.
Yeah, this works for pen testers too. I went to a conference. One of the pen testers said, one way to defeat every technique is to just be unrelentingly stupid. You call the help desk, I can't log in. Well, look at your key. Well, I don't know, it's putting out the wrong number. I still can't log in. What's the page? Act so stupid. They will eventually change your password to 123, turn off the 2-factor just to get you off the phone.
Yeah, because I was wondering why like scammers and stuff are like hanging up on me, and it's because I sound like I'm not a hapless person right off the bat.
Although I got a phone call yesterday from a scammer saying that my car insurance, my car warranty was expiring.
Yes,
And they asked me to confirm my make and model, and I said 2020 Tesla, and they hung up.
Yeah. That's the thing. You have to act like really. You have to be like, I don't know.
You really have a Tesla?
No.
I didn't think so. Yeah, that would be awesome.
And
the fact that you knew right away. The fact that you knew right away.
Tesla doesn't have a year model.
If I told them about my 97 Chevy, I think they'd probably have the same response.
Right. Like I have a 1913 Model T.
What?
That would probably be worth a lot of money. You probably really need to insure that.
But is there something wrong with the crank start?
That's right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, fashionable cars. And none of us are like Fast and Furious type fashionable cars, although Liz has a pretty good car. A lot of standards, which is not saying much, but
Well, it did. Yes, I do now have an 8-year-old car that's sitting next to my 24-year-old car.
But it's not all covered with like scratches and dents and stuff.
Oh, it is. It is. It's just hard. It's just hard to see because of all the dirt that's on top of them.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good thing. All right. So I guess I'll stop the recording and